To create an artwork inspired by artist Romero Britto, we will first need to trace a heart tracing shape on our paper. These hearts fit exactly on the paper if you slide them around till you can see that the whole heart is on the paper. Could I trace it if the heart's like this? Nope, I would want to slide it back to the middle, and then when I'm tracing, it's important to use my non-drawing hand to press down really hard. Then I'll take my pencil and I'll push against the edge of the tracing shape. These hearts are pretty flat, so you'll have to trace slowly and carefully. If you make a mistake, that's okay. Also, if you accidentally skip a spot, it's really easy to fix. Let me show you how. All right, I've lifted my shape away and you can see there's two little tiny gaps. To fill in a gap that's that small, I don't even need the tracing shape. I can use my eyes and my pencil to connect the gaps. Now I'm ready to start adding some lines. I want to create different sections that I'll fill with patterns. So I'm going to want to draw about 5 lines inside of my heart and 4 or 5 lines around the edges. They could be curved lines or straight lines. And I want to think about how I'm making my different sections. So let's pause and count the sections inside my heart. Right now I've made 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, but because some of my lines cross, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So maybe I'll make just a couple more lines. Maybe I'll make a curved line down here and a curved line in here. So now I have 5 lines and I have 7 sections. Let's also divide the outside edge of our paper. What I can do after I've drawn with pencil is I'm going to trace with a permanent marker. This one's a black permanent marker. What I'm going to do is I'm going to watch where those lines are and follow them exactly. So I have to look at my paper to trace. If I'm not looking at my paper, I'm not going to be doing a very good job tracing. I want to also trace slow enough that I can use my hand and keep it on top of the line. I'm going to go ahead and finish tracing this so we can talk about the next step. All right, all of my lines I've traced with the marker, so I want to go ahead and close the marker. If there's a little gap, it's not closed. A good way to close the marker is to press it super firmly against the table or use your hands and push together and twist so that we don't have the markers dry out. Also, it's a good time to check and make sure your name is on the back with pencil. The reason we're not using marker on the back is because the lines might bleed through. If I hold it up, you can see some of my lines through from the front. That's why I'm not using marker on the back. I'm just using pencil on the back. Now we're ready for the fun part, which is adding patterns and designs. And we'll use oil pastels for this. In each of these different sections, we want to make a unique line design or pattern. I have some examples here that we can look at for ideas and inspiration. These two mostly aren't painted yet, which we'll be doing in future art weeks. And this one you can see is all the way finished. It's got those patterns that we'll draw on the first day and it's been painted. When we're thinking about adding patterns, our patterns with the oil pastel can be pretty simple. And they could be line designs or they could be repeated shapes. This one is a line design of squiggly lines. This is a pattern of repeated hearts. This is a pattern of repeated circles. This is a line design of wavy lines. This is a pattern of repeated circles inside each other. These ones were next to each other. This one's just concentric circles. Pattern of flowers or dots. Repeated lines that go across. Pattern of triangles. Pattern of crown shapes. Pattern of rectangles inside each other. Over here we've got sort of a fish scale pattern. Let's see if there's any other ideas. This one's a different kind of triangles or repeated squares, repeated rectangles or diamonds. Here we even have one that's kind of like a checkerboard where I did the line pattern but then I colored in every other square. And you can see what it looks like after it's been painted too. Let's draw just a couple of patterns for some ideas. I'm going to find a whole section and find one color of oil pastel. I can think of either one line design or one shape. Maybe for my first section, I'm going to do a line design of zigzags, and I want to fill this entire shape. So I'm making my zigzags go all the way from the tippy top to the tippy bottom. And I want to do that for the whole shape. And I'm doing it with just one color of oil pastel. Once I've finished this shape, then I'm going to find another section of my heart and do a different pattern. Our goal is to have a different pattern inside each section of our heart. So now that I've done a line design of zigzags, I can't do the same line design of zigzags again. Maybe I'm going to find a totally different spot, like this spot down here, and I'll do a line design of loop-de-loop lines, because a loop-de-loop line looks different than a zigzag. If I'm doing one of these shapes that touches the edge of the paper, I really want to go all the way to the edge, so I don't have any gaps in my designs. After this, let's do one more. Every time I can also switch my oil pastel so I can get lots of different colors. Here's a green color. Sometimes if you're having a hard time telling what color it is, you can use a paper towel and you can sort of wipe off some of this color. If you need help from adult, you can also ask and we can help figure out what color it is. Maybe for this section, I'm going to do a repeating dots pattern. So I'm going to make a dot, and I'm going to make lots of dots until I fill this whole space. So if I do like 6 dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, am I done? No, there's still a lot of emptiness that I need to fill. We want to do a good job filling. However, even though we're making repeated shape patterns or repeated line patterns, are we just coloring in? No, because we're going to fill the white space in a future art week with a water-based paint. So we want to be really careful about not coloring with the oil pastels, but instead making designs. Maybe I'll do a repeating triangle pattern here. I could even make some of my triangles touch the edge so it looks like the pattern is going on not just inside the shape, but even outside, as if it were to keep going and stretch. I'm excited to see the starts of your hearts inspired by artist Romero Britto.